Deep in the heart of Maplewood Forest, where sunlight danced through golden leaves and cool breezes whispered secrets to the trees, lived Sammy the Squirrel. Sammy wasn't your average squirrel. He had a knack for solving mysteries. Whether it was finding lost bird nests or figuring out why the riverbank's water levels dropped overnight, Sammy's sharp eyes, quick wit, and clever mind made him the go-to detective of the forest. One crisp autumn morning, as Sammy scurried about his favorite oak tree collecting acorns for winter, he noticed something strange. His stash, a carefully hidden pile tucked beneath a mossy rock, was gone. Not one acorn remained. Panic bubbled inside him like fizzy sap. "Oh no!" Sammy exclaimed, scratching his fluffy tail furiously. "Who would take my acorns? This is serious business." Sammy's stash wasn't just any ordinary collection, was his lifeline for the harsh winter ahead. Without those acorns, he wouldn't survive the freezing months when food was scarce. Determined to get to the bottom of this mystery, Sammy decided to investigate. He grabbed his trusty magnifying glass, a gift from Mrs. Hedgehog, adjusted his tiny leather satchel, and set off on what would become the greatest adventure of his life. As Sammy sniffed around the base of the oak tree, he spotted tiny crumbs scattered across the ground. They weren't breadcrumbs, they were bits of acorn shells. Following the trail led him straight to Thicket Hollow, a shadowy part of the forest that few dared to enter. Legends spoke of eerie noises and strange happenings there, but Sammy wasn't afraid. He had faced tougher challenges before. Sammy muttered, peering into the dim underbrush. "These crumbs are fresh. Whoever took my acorns must have come this way." Just then, a rustling sound startled him. Out popped Pip, the nervous porcupine who always seemed to be hiding something. "Pip?" Sammy asked suspiciously, narrowing his eyes. "What are you doing here?" "I'm just looking for mushrooms," Pip stammered, avoiding eye contact. His quills bristled nervously, and he shuffled his feet. But before Sammy could press further, Pip scampered away, leaving behind a single quill stuck to a low branch. Sammy frowned. It wasn't much, but it was definitely worth remembering. He tucked the quill into his satchel for later examination and continued following the trail of acorn crumbs. The trail eventually led Sammy to Deadfall Creek, a narrow stream that wound its way through the forest. There, he discovered muddy paw prints leading toward the water's edge. The prints were small, with 3 distinct toes too big for a raccoon, too small for a bear. Who could they belong to? At the creek, Sammy found more evidence, a shiny silver button lying in the mud. It looked familiar, though he couldn't quite place it. Tucking it into his pouch for safekeeping, Sammy followed the tracks until they disappeared near a cluster of brambles. Suddenly, a loud thud echoed nearby. Sammy froze. Something or someone was close by. Peering cautiously through the brambles, Sammy spotted a narrow burrow entrance half hidden by fallen leaves. Curious, he crept closer and peeked inside. To his astonishment, there sat none other than Benny the Badger, surrounded by piles upon piles of acorns. "Benny!" Sammy cried, bursting into the burrow. "What are you doing with all these acorns? Some of them are mine." Benny blinked innocently, his round belly twitching. "Oh, I can explain," he said, rubbing the back of his neck. "You see, I've been gathering extra food because, well, winters are getting colder, and I wanted to make sure everyone has enough to eat." Sammy tilted his head. "Everyone? You mean you weren't hoarding them for yourself?" "Of course not," Benny replied, looking hurt. "I planned to share them once winter arrived. I didn't realize anyone thought they were missing." Relieved but still puzzled, Sammy remembered the shiny button he'd found earlier. Pulling it out, he held it up. "Do you know where this came from?" Benny's face turned red. "Oh dear, that belongs to Pip. He helped me carry some of the heavier loads, but only because I promised him first dibs on the leftovers." With Benny's confession, everything fell into place. Sammy hurried back to Pip's den and confronted the jittery porcupine. After some gentle questioning, Pip admitted that he'd accidentally knocked over Sammy's stash while helping Benny move the acorns. Feeling guilty, he hadn't known how to fix the mess, so he stayed quiet. "Well, mystery solved," Sammy declared with a grin. "No harm done, Pip. Just promise to tell me next time instead of keeping secrets." Pip nodded sheepishly. "Deal." In the end, Sammy, Benny, Pip, and the rest of the forest creatures worked together to organize the massive acorn collection. By sharing resources and planning ahead, everyone had plenty to eat during the long snowy months. And as for Sammy, he earned a reputation as the best sleuth in Maplewood Forest. Whenever trouble arose, animals would say, "Call Sammy the Squirrel, he'll figure it out." But this case taught Sammy an important lesson. Sometimes, things aren't always as they seem. What appeared to be theft turned out to be a misunderstanding caused by good intentions. From then on, Sammy approached every mystery with patience, empathy, and an open mind. Word of Sammy's detective skills spread far beyond Maplewood Forest. Animals from neighboring woods began seeking his help with their own problems. Soon, Sammy became known as the great detective of the Forest Kingdom. His adventures grew bigger and more daring, but no matter how challenging the case, Sammy always relied on his wits, his friends, and his unshakable determination to uncover the truth. Every autumn brought new adventures, new friendships, and new mysteries waiting to be solved. And Sammy wouldn't have had it any other way.